Welcome to the weekly roundup of Air News Daily Bulletins, the go-to place to catch up with all the stories that made the news last week.
After a 6-year hiatus, Air China is making a welcome return to the Indian market on the 21st of April, when it launches a 3 times per week service between its Beijing capital home and New Delhi's Indira Gandhi Airport. Flights will operate on Wednesdays, Fridays and Sundays on board the carrier's Airbus A330s. Riga-based Air Baltic will be adding a number of routes to its winter timetable this year to include, from the 11th of December, a once-weekly flight from Riga to Kuusamo in Finland. Lovely in Lapland. From Kuusamo, the airline will commence once-weekly flights to Berlin and Hamburg on the 12th of December, as well as once-weekly flights to London Gatwick and Manchester that will start on the 13th of December. The carrier will also launch twice-weekly services on Thursdays and Sundays between Las Palmas in the Canary Islands and Warsaw from the 25th of October, and twice-weekly from Las Palmas to Poznan starting on the 26th of October, operating on Mondays and Fridays. Unsurprisingly, folks, all flights will be flown using the airline's Airbus A220s. It's a great little plane, I love that. Male-based boutique operator Beyond has announced the launch of services from its Maldivian home to both London and Paris for the winter timetable. Paris-Charles de Gaulle flights are slated to commence on the 14th of December and will operate 3 times per week on Mondays, Thursdays and Fridays, with returns to Male the following day. While services to London's Heathrow Airport will commence on the 15th of December, operating on Tuesdays, Wednesdays and Saturdays, once again returning the following day. All flights will be flown using the carrier's Airbus A319 and A321 aircraft, with a fuel stop in Dubai. The airline is also increasing frequency between Male and Zurich, which will now be 3 times per week, and services to Munich get a boost by becoming twice weekly from its Indian Ocean home. Low-cost operator EgyptAir has announced its long-anticipated presence in Europe, as it plans to launch twice-weekly flights between its Hanoi hub and Prague via Almaty in Kazakhstan. Flights will start on the 11th of July. The final schedule hasn't yet been released, so we'll provide an update when the carrier firms the details up. Flights will, however, operate using the airline's Airbus A330 fleet and will take advantage of Fifth Freedom traffic rights granted to it by the Kazakh government. It should be noted, however, that services to Prague are subject to Czech government approval. I'm sure they'll get it. EgyptAir will be launching 2 new services to the US from its Cairo home for the summer. On the 23rd of May, the carrier will launch 3 flights per week to Los Angeles, operating on Mondays, Thursdays and Saturdays. Additionally, from the 21st of June, the Egyptian flag carrier will commence non-stop services 3 times per week to Chicago's O'Hare Airport, flying on Wednesdays, Fridays and Sundays. Both routes will be flown using the airline's brand new Airbus A350 flagship. What a fantastic plane. Luton-based low-cost carrier easyJet will be increasing its operation at Liverpool's John Lennon Airport with the introduction of twice-weekly flights from the home of the Beatles to Seville in Spain. Flights will operate on Thursdays and Sundays, commencing on the 2nd of August. Iberia regional partner Air Nostrum is introducing a seasonal service between Girona and Palma de Mallorca from the 2nd of July. Flights will operate twice weekly on Thursdays and Sundays until the 30th of August using the airline's ATR 72-600 aircraft. Uzbekistan Airways has launched a twice-weekly service today between its Tashkent home and the Kazakh city of Ataral, which sits at the mouth of the Ural River on the Caspian Sea. Flights will operate throughout the summer on Mondays and Fridays using the airline's Airbus A320s. I thought I would finish today with a little bit of tropical delight. Air Tanzania will be introducing a 3 times weekly service between its Dar es Salaam home and Mahe in the Seychelles. Flights will commence this Wednesday and operate Wednesdays, Fridays and Sundays using the carrier's Boeing 787 Dreamliners. Pull me up a deck chair and bring me a Coco de Mer, as they say. Lots of new route activity, which is great to see. We'll be back with you again tomorrow with our usual bulletin. In the meantime, take great care. Bye for now. The Star Alliance has opened a new connection centre at LAX, where the Alliance handles more than 350,000 connecting customers between member airlines every year. The new facility is designed to help Star Alliance customers with short connections to make their next Alliance flight as seamlessly as possible, aided by the proactive work of the staff to identify customers who may need help to achieve a tight connection. We've all been there, I certainly have. It's a horrible experience. If you find yourself needing the help of the team, do let us know how you get on. SATA Azores Airlines has been told by its owners, the regional government of the Azores, that it can now proceed to initiate direct negotiations with interested parties who are willing to take a majority share in the Atlantic Ocean-based carrier, as the government now tries for a second time to divest itself of control and responsibility for the carrier. For industry watchers, you'll know that the European Commission approved a restructuring plan for the airline in 2022, which included the sale of a majority share by the end of 2025. But the original process stalled in 2024 when the airline's owners felt the time wasn't right. But it now appears things have changed. It'll be interesting to see who shows interest, and TAP Air Portugal may well be a front runner, but it's too early to say. So we'll keep an eye on developments. Vienna-based Austrian Airlines has revealed the results of an experimental project it has been running for a year on 4 of its Boeing 777 aircraft. The carrier applied a coating called AeroShark, which was developed by Lufthansa Technik and BASF, to the wings of the aircraft to see what impact it would have on drag across the wing and therefore fuel burn. The coating, which uses fine riblets and is derived from analysis of the structure of shark skin, saved the airline 0.7% of drag, which might not sound like much, but equated to a saving of 930 tonnes of fuel and a reduction of 3,000 tonnes of carbon dioxide. It just shows you, Mother Nature can play a part in helping aviation to be better at helping the planet. North African carrier Air Algerie has confirmed an order for 10 Boeing 737 MAX 8 aircraft as it continues with its fleet modernisation programme. The first deliveries are slated to arrive in Algiers this summer, with 5 of the aircraft expected to be in service by the end of the year. And the remaining aircraft will be delivered to the Algerian flag carrier in 2027. It is believed that the speed of the deliveries has been helped by the fact that the airframes were originally destined for Brazilian low-cost operator Gol, who decided not to pursue the order. The MAX 8s are in addition to the airline's 8 MAX 9s that it ordered at the Paris Air Show in 2023 and are yet to be delivered. This is definitely a natural evolution for the airline, as they have operated various marks of the 737 for decades. And finally, with the Easter exodus set for this weekend in some parts of the world, London's Stansted Airport is preparing itself for a bumper period as the London Gateway anticipates handling 1.5 million passengers between the 28th of March and the 12th of April, made up of around 760,000 outbound customers and 740,000 inbound customers, assuming my maths is right. This coming weekend alone, they expect to see 400,000 passengers use the Essex facility, which thankfully now has an enlarged security central search area equipped with the latest scanning technology, which means that customers will be able to leave liquids and large electronic items in their hand baggage, which will certainly help speed things up and no doubt lower the blood pressure of all those involved, particularly the security staff. That's us for today. We'll see you again tomorrow, and in the meantime, go steady. Have a great day. India's largest airline, Indigo, has announced the appointment of former Aer Lingus and British Airways CEO Willie Walsh to the role of their Chief Executive Officer. The Dublin-born aviation executive replaces Peter Elbers, who resigned in March amid challenges with the Indian regulator over the carrier's performance. Mr. Walsh will take up his new role in Delhi at the beginning of August, when he ends his tenure as the Director General of the International Air Transport Association. And his no-nonsense approach to leadership will no doubt bring some changes to the Indian carrier, which we can only hope will enable it to remedy some of its operational challenges. We wish Willie much success in the next chapter of his career. Kazakh carrier SCAT Airlines will be introducing its first ever services between the Kazakh capital Astana and Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia. Flights will commence on the 2nd of June and operate twice weekly on Tuesdays and Fridays, returning to Astana the following day on board the airline's Boeing 737-800 fleet. Staying in Central Asia, Uzbek cargo operator My Freighter has begun operating new routes between Asia and Germany with the introduction of weekly flights from Hanoi and Bangkok via Tashkent to Frankfurt Airport. Both routes operate using the airline's Boeing 767-300 freighters. The Munich Airport Group is celebrating as it has announced record revenues for 2025, which it attributes to strong traffic demand. Profits increased by €105 million over 2024 to a net profit after tax of €169 million. The Bavarian hub welcomed a total of 43.4 million passengers through its doors last year, and aircraft movements increased by 3.1% over the previous year. And the airport now boasts 96 carriers that serve a total of 232 destinations worldwide. Who'd have thought it? Alaska Air Group has issued revised first quarter financial guidance downward as the result of high fuel costs and other significant challenges that have emerged in the first few months of 2026. In a bid to minimise the impact of rising fuel costs, the Seattle-based group, which operates Alaska Airlines, Hawaiian Airlines, Horizon Air and McGee Air Services, has commenced an initiative to expand its sourcing of fuel from Singapore, which it says it will tanker to Seattle. The aim is for the group to reduce reliance on supplies from the west coast of the US by 20%, noting that the company is paying less per gallon for fuel tankered from Singapore to include the transport costs to Hawaii than it did for supplies bought closer to home. Donald, I'm not sure how this is making America great again when one of your key transport providers is buying fuel outside of the States. Answers on a postcard, please, Mr. Trump. And finally, this year marks the 80th anniversary of Scandinavian Airlines, or SAS to most of us, to include me. The carrier's year-long celebrations got underway yesterday when the airline revealed its 80th anniversary livery, which now adorns one of the airline's Airbus A330-300s, and was seen heading to New York's Newark for its maiden outing in its smart new clothes. The airline will celebrate its 80th birthday on the 17th of September, and we've no doubt that there will be more celebratory surprises to come from the Nordic carrier. But in the meantime, let me know what you think of their 80th livery. Thanks for being with us today. We'll be landing with you again tomorrow and look forward to seeing you then. And remember, you can always get in touch with us by visiting airnewsdaily.tv or by messaging us via your favourite socials. See you tomorrow. A number of regular viewers have asked about the global situation with fuel supplies, and with the ongoing war against Iran being waged by the US and Israel, there remains a high degree of volatility both in supplies and the cost for fuel. Some airlines have already trimmed schedules such as Air New Zealand and Scandinavian Airlines, whilst others have implemented fuel surcharging such as Air France, Cathay Pacific and Lufthansa. Cebu Pacific recently reassured customers that they have sufficient fuel supplies to maintain their already reduced flying program until June. Low-cost operators in Europe aren't immune to the challenges either, as borne out by Ryanair's CEO, Michael O'Leary, who has advised that the carrier is good for fuel until May, but he is already talking about fare increases that are just around the corner. And easyJet is preparing a program of targeted frequency reductions and prioritising Airbus A320neo operations, whilst Wizz Air, who have hedged less fuel, may yet need to make some difficult decisions about thinner, lower yield routes in the short term. What we can say is that if the attacks against Iran continue beyond the end of May and the Straits of Hormuz remain closed, a fifth of the world's fuel supplies will remain cut off, and therefore fuel will be even harder to secure and will come with significant price rises over and above the doubling we have already seen, which of course will end up being passed on to passengers when they book tickets. As I've said before, we are going to feel the pain of this conflict for months to come, if not years, and therefore we can expect continued disruption to flying regardless of where we are in the world. Fiji Airways will be increasing its schedule between Nadi and Vancouver to 3 flights per week, starting from the 16th of June using its Airbus A330s. At the same time, the Pacific carrier has expanded its codeshare agreement with British Airways to include the Vancouver route, so customers can now fly seamlessly onto British Airways services from the Canadian Gateway to London and beyond. That's great news for customers. Staying in the Pacific, troubled Air Algerie recently filed for bankruptcy following a month of suspended operations caused not simply by technical issues or financial mismanagement, but aided by a prolonged and highly disruptive series of airport blockades across New Caledonia, which were triggered by the government's plan to shift all domestic operations from Nouméa's Magenta Airport to La Tantuta Airport, located much farther from the capital. Protesters from the Loyalty Islands and the Isle of Pines, communities that rely heavily on Magenta's proximity to Noumea, mobilised in early March and physically blocked access to multiple airports, making it impossible for Air Algerie to operate even a skeleton schedule. The airline's finances, already fragile after years of depressed demand and high operating costs, collapsed under the weight of a near total loss of revenue. Such a shame. Kazakh flag carrier Air Astana has announced the appointment of Ibrahim Kanil as its new Chief Executive Officer. He took up his role yesterday and succeeds Peter Foster, who has led the airline group for 20 years. Mr. Kanil, who previously held the role of Chief Finance Officer, will now steer both Air Astana and low-cost subsidiary Fly Aristan through a period of growth, reaffirming its position as Central Asia's leading airline group, and we wish him all the very best in his new role. KLM Engineering and Maintenance is accelerating the time it takes for apprentices to become licensed mechanics by using one of the airline's retired Boeing 737s. This initiative now means that trainees can get hands-on time on a real airframe without having to wait for operational schedules, thus enabling the Dutch carrier to reduce training time from 2 years to 9 months without compromising on the quality of the course. That's a great initiative, KLM, well done you. And finally, US Transportation Security Administration staff have now received retroactive pay, which has seen a significant number of agents return to their roles after 2 months of not being paid, thanks to a partial shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Everyone's best friend, he says with a hint of sarcasm, Donald Trump ordered that staff be paid as the growing security delays across US airports and the deployment of ICE agents was proving to be another unpopular decision by the US leader. Queues are easing, but some locations across the states will be better than others, so it's not all plain sailing. United Airlines has even released an enhancement to its customer mobile app that helps its passengers to monitor TSA queues at the carrier's hubs. And our advice, of course, is for customers to still allow plenty of time to get through security, especially over the Easter period. Thanks for being with us today. As it's Good Friday tomorrow, we won't be with you, but we will return on Monday with our usual Route Special. So have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Take it easy.
This is Air News Daily with an important news flash. Concerning Lufthansa, the German flag carrier. We're crossing now to Jeremy Spake in Berlin.
Lufthansa will be celebrating its 100th birthday on Monday the 6th of April, and what better way to do it than to recreate the first 2 flights it ever operated. On Monday morning, exactly 100 years to the day, the German flag carrier will dispatch a Boeing 787 Dreamliner from Frankfurt and an Airbus A350 from Munich, both sporting the 100-year anniversary livery, which we all love, to Berlin's Brandenburg Willy Brandt Airport, from where they will operate 2 very special flights to mark becoming a centenarian. On April the 6th, 1926, a Fokker Grölich F2 took off from Berlin's Tempelhof Airport, bound for Zurich, and a Dornier Comet 3 D580 took off for Cologne. The flight to Zurich carried a newlywed couple, while the flight to Cologne had only a single passenger. On Easter Monday, the Boeing 787 and the Airbus A350 will reenact these historic maiden flights. Both aircraft are scheduled to take off simultaneously from Berlin at around 3 p.m. to a no doubt packed terrace of onlookers, avgeeks and lovers of aviation. The Dreamliner will depart for Zurich and the Airbus for Cologne. Both aircraft will pass over the locations where the original flights made technical stops on April the 6th, 1926. Flight LH1926, operated by the Boeing, will fly from Berlin via Halle, Erfurt and Stuttgart to Zurich, while Flight LH2026, operated by the Airbus, will fly from Berlin via Magdeburg to Cologne, naturally without the need for an intermediary stop. We wish Lufthansa and her staff a truly wonderful birthday on Monday, and of course, many happy returns.
We look forward to seeing you again next week. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to Air News Daily to stay up to date with all the latest news from the commercial aviation world.